We all know why we're here. So let me ask you a question then. Why the big secret? Truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, but really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, break it down. Now can you peep it? They're deceiving all the people. Let me ask you, what's the secret? Misinformation and lies, a devious disguise. They want the EMF blast until our brains is fried. Oh, point their beams in the sky. Oh, it's a movie now. This world is all CGI. Their plot is truly foul. But we're here to rise up and bring the real. Time is now, truth seekers. Y'all know how I feel. Truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers, we're really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, why the big secret?
All right, it is Tuesday, and I want to welcome you all to Forbidden Knowledge TV. My name is Roderick Martin, and you're a part of the Why the Big Secret podcast today. We're going to start with a conversation, and that conversation is, imagine a world where we have what we call advanced technology that some believe has the power to control our thoughts, to manipulate our emotions. What about dictate our every move? And this is kind of like a science fiction novel in such a way, but actually millions and millions of people actually have taken this theory into a whole new level. And we're going to talk about it today, because here in Why the Big Secret, we're going to do a deep dive into this hidden conversation of the 5G technology, what's really happening with it. I'm going to take you in a place to where it all began with such a thing as this.
Technology that experts say will make everything we do online faster and more convenient. But protesters downtown today are fighting back against 5G in San Diego. They say it can cause.
And it was a simple movement that protesters was having about what 5G could do, all the way to a point to where now it's taken to a entire another level. Within the show, we're going to get to the street a little bit. Yeah, just some stuff that I did last week, just to ask what I'll call the word on the street, and we'll get to a few conversations.
Okay, all I know is that it's Wi-Fi.
His goods, negatives about it, got his goods and bads, and like anything.
So we'll cover the word on the street a little bit later within the show as well. But in the meantime, we're going to jump down into it. So I want you to get ready. Let's get ready to go on this journey, because it's going to be a good one.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
consider the question, why the big secret?
All right, so truth seekers. All right, now we're going to pick it up the pace a little bit here. Once again, I want to welcome you to Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'm your host, Roderick Martin. You could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. And with that being said, as always, I bid you good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the 24 time zones that this show airs. Once again, I'm located, if you wanted to know, I'm in the Jumbo State. This is where those UFOs come out to play. It is a Texas thing. But we're going to be the boldest, baffling, belligerent YouTube channel in the world. We want to create these captivating conversations that'll certainly cause controversy. Nothing has ever done that more than the situation we're going to talk about right now, which is the 5G technology. There's millions of people, once again, that says this thing causes mind control. I'm going to also tie in the topic that we all know we really don't want to say here on YouTube. So you do understand when I use the word pandemic and the topic of subject to that, but I'm going to replace it with the word Bud Light, which is kind of similar to the name of the drink it's called anyway. So when you hear me say Bud Light, you know what I'm talking about, right? So anyway, and if you don't, just catch on. It'll be a little known here in the show tonight. We'll do that as well. So let's get down with it because I want to get right with it. And I could have got a little more energy for you and did our normal opening, which would have been Truth Seekers. Well, we'll do that the next time, right? Anyway, that excites me all the way. I just want, it's still in me from there. Let's get down to what we're going to be doing here in this show. One of the most things about this is 5G, okay? Now, I've been around this a long time, especially with some of the subjects that I cover, being a UFO investigator, being a TV personality, all of those things. And nothing comes more than a good conspiracy when it hits out here. But today, like I said, we're not going to promote one. That is not what we're doing here on this channel. And anything that I do say tonight and the research is all us. It has nothing to do with the network itself, Forbidden Knowledge TV. All opinions and everything is mine and our responsibility. But we will share some thoughts. I will share some things that I see when it comes down to this particular conspiracy. But in the end, I'm going to give you enough information and things that you can think about that you then can be a judge of what's going to be happening. We're going to get into about 7 different little small segments. We're going to uncover the conspiracy here first. Then we're going to get into peeling back some of the layers, which I'll get into some of the details. I got just a little small clips of word on the street, not much. But in the future, we do plan on really getting detail with that. And then we're going to get our researchers kind of weighing in on some of the conversations. And then I'll kind of bring it all to a close, give you a little bit in segment 5 or 6, which is what I call my Yology. And then if you want to stick around, the show would end. We're then going to do what I call the audience unraveled. And then basically we'll go into the chats because we normally don't do that because it's high speed. And we'll get into the chat so that we can then get your questions, put some things on screen. The researchers will be there and we can all be real interactive. Fair enough? That's how we're going to go. All right. So anyway, we're going to explore the origins of this 5G conspiracy and the connections that it have to mind control, the connections that it has, that it could be causing medical issues to the community. And then once again, we'll touch on how did it get all the way associated to the Bud Light thing, right? Which, like I said, if you just hop in with us, it's another word for the other drink, and you just mix it in. Now, you can use that because this is part of that grammar box that I tell you that I have, and you can get letters out that box, and then you can put it into whatever you want to think about. And then as well as you could then take any of the letters or misspelled things. So this time I want you to use your imagination and understand when I say Bud Light. All right, so let's first go into one of the origins of this conspiracy. And maybe how it ties into mind control, okay? The conspiracy theory linking 5G to mind control has roots all the way back, okay? And it's the long-standing fears about the effect when it comes down to electromagnetic fields or EMFs on humans, if you ever heard that terminology. Now, these concerns could date back all the way to the early days, what we call radio and television. We still have it today. And then it has persisted all the way through the next generation once it came down to wireless technology. Now, can't tell you what's the difference between the fact that we moved from 4G to 5G and 5G became the topic of association. But then there is some other things out there with proponents of it and says, hey, you know what? We do have proof that the energy level that comes, or the radioactive level that comes from this technology, has a problem. But then, like I said, it moved to the major issue when it came down to the Bud Light thing, right? And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to keep giving the disclaimer, but I just can't say the other word and what everybody was associated, but you do know. However, there were celebrities. There was a lot of people that took that Bud Light thing to the whole nother level. And it made me understand one question: how could something like this get so mass talked about? How could it grow into so much of its own life? And then it hit me when I said, wait a minute, influence, right? And so we'll go over that in a little bit in the show. I'll talk about it and show you some evidence of some of this influence and how did this theory or conspiracy grow into the fashion that it has. But does it affect you? Are you part of that? Or do you think or are against, for, or whatever of the 5G conspiracy? And like I said, if you stick around to the end of the show, we're going to have audience unravel, and maybe I can call out to some of you, bring you in on the call-in line, as well as anything else, but we'll do that in segment 7. The other part of this is going to get us to the point that some of the key arguments that you're going to hear about tonight is that the 5G technology emits, like I said, harmful electromagnetic radiation, and could affect human brain functions and mental health. Also, that we have the big secret keepers and other big secret keepers. Corporations are using this technology as a means of surveillance. And it was kind of funny because one of the people that I did the word on the street, which I'll show you in a clip a little later, that was one of the things he was talking about. And I didn't really was like, okay. But now when I was doing some research, hey, he was on point. So this means that this could be the means of surveillance and what we call population control. Now, those are things, like I said, we're just going to talk about. I'm not going in and out of saying I am stamping those things. Another part of the rollout of 5G networks supposedly been a part of a larger plot of the secret elite. And this just to consolidate power and to manipulate the masses. We've been doing some stuff on that over the last few weeks. We talked about the Bilderberg Group. We talked about ChatGPT and how it tied into the Bilderberg Group. And if you didn't hear about that story, go back and look at last week's Tuesday night show. And then it led into Thursday night show where I went into the chat bot itself on Why the Big Secret channel. So definitely get an opportunity to go there. Another part of this is mind control. Major proponents of 5G mind control theory. Now, we can go all the way back to the CIA, MK Ultra. We can go, but there are just so many weapons of mind control that's out there that the big secret keepers have seemed to have access to or have put into play. And once again, 5G does not get away from that part of the plan. Even David Icke, if you remember him, he's the British conspiracy theorist and former sports broadcaster. You know, he got a lot of books out there. I got a lot of his books, and he's been a proponent figure saying that the conspiracy theory of all of these things, and he talks about this for decades. But anyway, he's written several books. He's given numerous talks and various conspiracy theories, but one related to 5G and mind control is something that he's gone with. And then, of course, his social media presence, again, make him one of these people who could put whatever you want in play, and ultimately he's going to do that. But so the thing about it for us, though, and for you and for all us to really think about, where do you see 5G? What do you see? And then when I talk about some of the things that people are saying that it has affected them, then you may wonder yourself to where you are saying, wait a minute, am I around this thing a little bit? So let's get into our next segment, and we're going to talk about it, and let's get into the transition of that right now.
Card for a parking problem.
So as we uncover this conspiracy, one of the things that we're going to do, let me show you where it begun, and then we're going to go into where it's going and has gone. And we got to figure out and ask ourselves why. How did it get from here to here? And not that both sides don't have a legitimate argument, and one in particular that truly does, but how did it go from here to here? And let me show you where it began and how it started here.
Technology that experts say will make everything we do online faster and more convenient. But protesters downtown today are fighting back against 5G in San Diego. They say it can cause cancer. 10 News reporter Jennifer De La Cruz is live, and a lot of this technology is already here, Jen.
Yeah, you probably don't even notice them, but cell towers are everywhere, especially here in downtown. Like this one behind me, it's that white cylinder you see sitting on top of that light pole. And with 5G coming to San Diego, there's going to be even more of them. Technology is supposed to connect us, but for this group, that's not the case.
People need to check this stuff out.
Protesting the rollout of a 5G network in San Diego.
We don't want to be experimented on. They're not doing the proper safety studies.
Susan Brinkman is the director at the Center for Electrosmog Prevention.
It's close range exposure to microwave radiation. Some of the frequencies can make your skin feel like it's burning, like it's on fire.
She says not only will 5G increase radiation, but the number of cell towers will also go up.
They're putting them on light posts, and they want to put them every 200 to 300 feet for 5G. Scientists are beginning to associate it with development of cancer.
We found one nearby, so we put it to the test, measuring radio frequency radiation. So we're feeling the effects of this right now.
Right. I can feel it, a real sickening feeling like when you've got sun poisoning or something.
A local real estate agent says it's even hurting the housing market.
Will not buy a house anywhere near a cell site.
An article in the New York Times this week says otherwise, citing a Temple University professor saying, quote, 5G emissions, if anything, should be safer than previous generations. When the city announced their 5G partnership with Verizon in April, Police Chief David Nislight says this is just what San Diego needs.
You know, we're about 200 officers short. Could you imagine if we didn't have this kind of technology? This makes us work smarter, faster, and directs us more to where we need to be.
Now, the reason I played this clip, and it was 2 minutes long, is to set up what originally the 5G movement, or well, that wasn't a conspiracy yet, but was the movement. And the movement had everything to do with health-related issues, okay? Radiation and all these things that, as you can see in the video, someone actually said, hey, we did a test. It is giving off radiation. And there's a lot of proponents or people for it saying, hey, it is true. And as well as people saying, hey, you know what? This is, you know, one of these things we have to look into for public health. Over the years, you know, as this 5G rolled out, then it spread it. Yeah, we're talking all over the world. You know, people began to have movements about 5G. We're talking, as you can see, people are now saying, hey, listen, let's just stop this mess. Then it went into, you know, it's controlling, and it's now it's against save the planet, you know, stop 5G and, you know, all of these things. And it just grew into a life of its own. And then ultimately, that came back to where it then became part of the Bud Light conspiracy. And like I said, replace Bud Light with the other word, you know what I'm talking about. And that took on a whole nother life within itself. And then I asked myself, how could something like this spread? How could we get to a point to where it went from a legitimate, probably concern, to all of a sudden this conspiracy has mega itself into something into something huge, which once again to a point to where it could then get you sick just from the fact of being around it and everything else. And I'm saying I'm not for or against. I'm just trying to figure out how is it even possible that we took this path and we were able to take the 5G conspiracy down to that level. And I know this is probably a conversation that a lot of people like, you know what, this is old, this is something we do. But let me tell you, it's in full effect. They're implying or putting these towers everywhere right today. So if there is some legitimate issues to it, it's something that's worth for us to explore tonight, is one of the things that we're here. But then when I start thinking about how could it be spread about, That's when it came down to me understanding the power of social media, the power of what is happening out there and everything else. And so we'll get down to the bottom of it right now. And let's go into our segment. We're going to peel back the layers of everything else. So let's just get down to it. So I want you to follow along. This is going to move pretty fast, but I'm just going to give a bunch of key points for you and move this thing down to some fors, against, the power, what's happening and everything else. And so let's get into our segment here. Let's talk about 5G and the market status. Now, the definition, if you didn't know, is fifth generation of mobile network, which is designed originally, and like it says, to offer faster data, reduce latency when we're talking about our cell phones, and improve connectivity. Now, I got my phone sitting right here in front of me. So it's not a person out there that has one of these, and that should be everybody who's watching right now, that we do not want these things to work faster. We do not want, we do want these things to work faster. We do want faster data. We do want to improve connectivity if it's going to be drop calls or whatever. We want all of that. And this is supposedly what 5G has to offer. Now, the current status is that it's being rolled out across the globe and with the various countries and telecom companies that's investing in what we call the infrastructure and technology. Now, there is an alternate theory in this. This is something that's on the other spectrum besides what happens when it gets down to this. And an alternate theory about 5G is that there's health problems. There's government surveillance or the big secret keepers watching us associated with the 5G technology. There are claims from people that talk about, they believe that it caused negative health effects to people, right? Such as cancer. We just seen that in the clip. And this is going to be because of the radiation increase. And they're saying if there's going to be a spectrum or global of radiation, then there's something else totally different. Now, let me hint something to you that you might didn't know. Being a UFO investigator, one of the main things that we check for if someone said there was a landing or came in contact with a UFO or alien extraterrestrials is radiation. And we tend to have so many reports of them being around our nuclear radiation facilities. It's like the norm. But then what we do know is that radiation is probably good for them, bad for humans, vice versa. So imagine, this is just my thought, that we have a spectrum, an entire globe that's covered with 5G network and emitting radiation, the whole freaking planet. Man, we may have a lot of visitors coming pretty soon if that was to be the case. Let's just throw that out there for you. That's just something to the side. But anyway, the claims again is due to the radiation, and other people argue, that it will cause medical issues, but also that this is a way for the big secret keepers to have a massive surveillance program, and they can see everything, right? And that's one of the things. Now, the third one of this is there's a little evidence that's going to support some of this theory, all right? The theory of what some of these people are talking about. And this is people that have reported experiencing headaches. A lot of people have reported experiencing fatigue and other symptoms that's been living near these towers. And you saw in the article a few minutes ago, or that I was playing, the lady said she wouldn't buy a house near 5G. Okay, that's kind of weird that they're saying that, and that's fine. But in the interim, we've seen these large towers, right, that 5G has everywhere. But now in LA, you saw them real small, real cute looking, and it's almost though they have recreated the towers to blend in, so we don't even notice that they're there, and are not as big as we're looking at the cell phone towers down the street that we think is remitting this information, but yet some of these little bitty cylinders. So that is something for us to consider. It could be possibly one of the reasons doing that. Another part is that the big secret keepers are investing in a technology capable of intercepting and analyzing 5G data for surveillance purposes. Now, if that's true, that goes back to, what we've all been worrying about, them getting into our iPhones, getting into the data and all of these things. And of course, you have arguments with all these other countries. In fact, there was, I forget which name of it, one of the other cell phone companies, was it start with an H or whatever, but they have already been in fights with our government because we felt that they had some kind of way of tracking our information because they have made the 5G towers. And so it's kind of one of these things from there. Another counter argument that we can get into real quickly against the theory is there's been scientific studies and multiple research out there have ever shown that there's no significant link between 5G technology and negative health issues. So on one side, you have people saying ain't nothing happening. On the other side, you got people saying it's happening. And then we have the big one in the middle, that the Bud Light theory, okay, and remember, just associated with the name of the other drink that then associate you with the pandemic that I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is the Bud Light theory supposedly came out from somewhere else out of the blue, and it grew massive. But I did figure out why and how this thing spread it. And we will talk about that in a little bit because it's all about influence. It really is, and really makes us wonder, should we be careful and wondering how do we interpret what's happening out here in this world? That'll be something you got to say for yourself. And we'll talk to our researchers about that as well. Another part of this is regulatory standards. And they're saying that the 5G operates within the safety guidelines and set by international regulatory bodies. Now, when I hear the word international regulatory body, my buzzword, my mind just goes off, because this is where in most conspiracies, especially in the UFO and all of that world, becomes multinational corporations, okay? These are these companies that work globally and got the power, not just in the United States, wherever they have their hands in the cookie jar. So when you start thinking if there was some bad intent, and then that there is a international regulatory committee or guidelines for 5G, then that makes you go, okay, it makes sense. Why wouldn't it? Because these people are doing this to do that. So that's something, once again, for us to give it some thought as we go further into the conversation. Now, it's important to consider both sides of the argument. It really is, because you got potential consequences when it comes down to this. Ignoring the theory could put public health at risk. What if it is true? What if it does cause all of this radiation and things that's behind it? Should we not pay attention to it as the public, or should our officials pay attention to it? What about dismissing the theory without consideration that may fuel more conspiracy theory, which is where we are? And so again, some of these things cannot be ignored, and we need to look at it. We have to say, well, let's figure out why and what's going on. Because like I've always told you, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. You got to think why. So I don't worry about what I hear about 5G. I don't worry about how they're putting it up everywhere. My concern is always uncovering the why. And if there is a hint of conspiracy, we want to know. Why the big secret? We want to know, because if it's a secret, we got to know, and we'll find out. Another part of this is creativity and originality in what we call the evidence presentation, okay? And where I'm going with that is unexpected source. And we're going to talk to some people in the future. I got a couple of people that's going to be there tonight, and we were going to talk with a former telecom person. He actually worked for the company, and he couldn't make it. He hit me at the last minute. I was going to have him here. He was going to spill some beans. And I was like, dude, you can put your job on the line or whatever. But, hey, he was willing to do that, and we can kind of go from there as well. So one of the things I want to do really, once again, is point out that we have what we have, and that is the point of people, what's going on out there when it comes down to medical issues with 5G technology, what's going on with the mind control. Then we're talking about the Bud Light situation, where it's saying this is what was spreading Bud Light around a few years ago. Everybody was catching it. Of course, we needed to really get things put in our arm to protect us from Bud Light, right? And all of these things. And yeah, I just try to put a reference to it as another drink, so some of you can figure that out. But that's where this thing went, to a point that was the mechanism for spreading that, okay? That 5G was the mechanism for that. And that was hard for me to fathom personally, to even think about it in that capacity, and if they were going to do that. But you know what? There's a lot of things we can think about when it comes down to it, because do you remember there was a movie that came out? Remember, it was Kingsman, right? If y'all remember this movie is where Samuel Jackson played the character where he was giving out free calls, free internet for everyone forever. And the whole purpose of this was to have everybody have this chip. And remember, when it was activated, the chip had mind control capabilities. And this is a movie. And I always like to say, I like to try to tie into Hollywood because I think they are already plugged into everything else, and they just don't make these things up. They hear about it and they may say, that's a good movie. That'll make a great movie. And so in that part, remember all the people that was against him about to do this movement or roll out that new network that he had. Immediately, this what happened to them because of the connectivity. But one of the things about it was, remember, they did a test run. They did a test run in all places, and I'm talking about this movie, okay? They went to a church. Remember, a church where people are there, singing, praising God, all of those things where this is probably one of the less likely places for people to go bananas. And next thing you know, they hit that button, and this is what happened. Remember, the entire church started whacking each other off, right? Only because of mind control when it came down to the possibility that it was in this particular chip that he had or they invented to take over the world or get people to do so. So it's a movie. That was a movie. I'm not saying that's what's happening out here. But if you start thinking about what people are saying, and when you get to these clips like this where, hey, stop this internet, it's affecting our children. Let's stop this thing. This is a movement, people. This is not just down the street. This was all over the world, and it still goes on today where people are concerned that these frequencies is not there. And I can understand one person. I can understand 3. I can understand 500, 10,000 people. We're talking millions, ladies and gentlemen. And if this the case, did they hear something that we don't know? Or I didn't know, or you knew, or don't know. And like I say, in our last segment, we're going to dive into the audience at the end of the show. And that way people who have done can go, and the ones who want to stick around can stick around. But the most important factor of this is saying to ourselves, how is it possible at this point that this thing grew without some legitimacy inside of it? Or could you make some stuff up and it still get as big as it has? And that's something for us to truly think about. And I'm going to put some stuff to the side here in a moment. What we're going to do, though, let me just take you into another segment that we will get into here a little bit. Let me get my notes together. So our segment Word on the Street is going to be, so that in the future, starting in about a week, we're going to actually have a crew. We're going to be out every topic that we're going to talk about. We like to get what's happening on the street and everything else, and seeing from that perspective. And sometimes it's just when I'm out with my little GoPro and I may stop at the grocery store, the coffee shop, and I see someone and I just ask. And so last week, once again, there were some people and I still asked them about 5G, and I thought about it. I was like, I can play a little bit what they said. And it's nothing to show any relevance to the people not knowing, but it does help us to get references that there's a segment of our population that thinks certain ways about certain topics. In particular, you'll hear what James had to say when I asked him about 5G. So check out his comment right here. All right, so tell me what you think when you think about 5G technology.
It's good. It's got its goods and negatives about it. It's got its goods and bads and like anything else. But my opinion, I feel it's a setup.
All right, okay, let's go there. Set up for what?
Everything, watching the pay attention to everything we do, every movement.
Okay. Some say it has something to do with mind control. What do you think?
To a point, okay. If you let it.
Oh, how can we prevent it?
By not getting 4G or 5G.
All right, so, for a point, he has his thoughts, right? Like getting 5G. I don't know about the option of that, but he said if you let it, and that could be the power of the people saying, hey, we don't want this to go down. But what he did say was something to the point of mind control, or how the effects of it, which was the theory that I read to you earlier. And pretty much when I was at the coffee shop, the young ladies, they really was like, I don't really know anything about 5G, pretty much. And so I just thought I would ask them since they were sitting there. So I'll play that little clip for you. You can just kind of go from here. When you hear the term 5G, what do you think?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, what about
All
you?
I know is that it's Wi-Fi.
It's Wi-Fi.
Or
Okay.
something.
Well, all right. So the rumor is that our new cell phone technology supposedly can do mind control and all of those things, and that's the theory of this new potent 5G network, and it's supposed to have some nefarious intent. So what do you think about that, if it's capable of mind control?
I have no idea. Personally, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I don't know. Yeah, no. I agree. I have no idea.
All right, so that was just a couple. I was at the coffee shop, and I got a lot of other little clips that we'll play in the future. And then I did run into some people that knew some stuff, right? So I had to edit that stuff together. But just to give you a consensus of, everyday people, and like the young lady says, I don't think it can happen. I really don't know. And the other guy, gentleman, of course, he's like, hey, it's got some bad intentions or whatever. And like I said, we're going to get out there and really get some conversations for you on a lot of these topics we're going to be talking about. So definitely you always want to stick in for that particular segment. But I think it's essential. So whenever we have these conversations, we're going to do two-part. We want to know what others are thinking out there. And then at the end of the show, I may do some call-ins from now on where you can call in, or we'll get into the chat to really see what is happening when it comes down to that. So we're going to have our next segment here in a minute. We're getting ready to get into where I'll have my researchers up here with me a little bit. We'll get into some of these topics and let them weigh in a little bit on things that they, found when it came down to this 5G network. But in the meantime, we're going to play a little bit about the Conscious Award. As you know, it is ticking down to it. Basically, you want to make sure you get your tickets there as well. In fact, I'll let Billy explain it all to you right now.
Hey everybody, it's Billy Carson, also known as Forbidden Knowledge. I want to talk to you about a very special event coming up July 30th, 2023, the Forbidden Conscious Awards, the first annual event of its type. We're going to honor people who have been contributing to the conscious community for decades. People that you know and love that have helped you get to higher levels of thought and consciousness and awareness. And guess what? It's time to give them their flowers while they're still alive. It's going to be a live in-person event, but seats are going to sell out very fast. You want to make sure you're there in person for this amazing level event. It's going to be above the Oscars, above the Grammys. And guess what? You can help vote for the winners. Voting is available on forbiddenknowledge.com. And the categories are going to be social media influencer, podcast/radio host, TV host, actor, director, producer, entrepreneurs, health and wellness, philanthropists, authors, field researchers, archaeologists, space anomaly hunters, and of course, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And you want to be there in person because I'm going to be speaking. That's right, I'll be your keynote speaker that night at the Forbidden Conscious Awards. If you want to come to a mini conference, this is the place to be because I'm going to give you the knowledge that night as well as performances. We have celebrity guests performing. We'll have a halftime show where we're actually going to perform music for you. And don't forget about the pre-event mixer, where if you buy a box seat, you'll be in the VIP section, and you also have private access to a VIP mixer with celebrity guests. Shake hands, break bread, network, and then walk the red carpet with us and take amazing photos. It's going to be a night to remember. You don't want to forget this. And you help vote by going to forbiddenknowledge.com. Go to the Conscious Awards link. You can text in a vote for who you want for any category, as well as if you're out of the country, you can use the web form ballot to still vote for anyone you think is worthy of being honored that night. Make sure you hurry up and get your tickets because they're selling out very fast. I want to see you there. Forbidden Conscious Awards 2023.
All right, so what I'm going to do is get our researchers in. And like I said, make sure you get your tickets to the Forbidden Knowledge Conscience Award. It's one of its kind, and the greatness of Billy and Liz and Forbidden Knowledge family is putting that together. And I think it's epic. It's really epic. So definitely do that. So in the meantime, I'll get my researchers in. We're going to talk about a little bit of what's happening here and pretty much from there. But one of the things that I would like to do is just kind of set the tone of what we're thinking about here. And like I said, when we're done with the researchers, I'm going to get to another part of the show a little bit, which I found was pretty interesting. And this is some celebrities here. Okay. These are different celebrities that promoted the 5G conspiracy. Of course, you know what I'm talking about when I say when it came down to the Bud Light versus the other word that you see here. But I mean, we're talking Kara, we're talking Amanda here. You got Mia, you have Woody, you have this guy here. Y'all know who that is, Wiz. And then we have Amir, and then we have John Krusik, and we did even have Teddy Riley. We're going to get into that after I get what my researchers say, so that we can talk about what is really happening when it comes down to this right now. And so it's definitely interesting. And so we'll go from there. What's going on, ladies?
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
All right. So, one of the conversation, and I know you all provided some research, some links and things for some of the stuff that I was talking about. And I just played that little clip there. And like I said, it's not as expansive that I want to get into, because, we are going to put the street team together. I got a few people that start next week. We're going to really hit the streets, right? And, but still, you still see a sentiment, especially with James and a lot of stuff there. So from some of your research, even your personal thoughts, and like I said, this is just our opinion. This doesn't, reflect on Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'm not promoting the conspiracy, nor for or against either way. I'm just still trying to figure out how did it go from true medical things that could be valid from radiation, which we know radiation does cause some issues, to it went all the way over to the other side of the fence, to mind control. And then all of a sudden it went into how big it is now when it comes down to, and as you know, when I say Bud Light and all those things. So any one of y'all can start first on what did you find and what do you think about when you did some research? And then let's just get into it from there.
Sure. I'll jump right in. I have to say in my research, and relating to the health issues with the Bud Light issue, you'll see that a lot of people claim that the frequencies, the radiation coming from the towers was creating, an issue with immune systems, causing their immune systems to be weakened. And this is the reason why they were getting the Bud Light situation. So that was one of the main things that I found. And so I could see how people would be very concerned about that, especially we always know that whenever a new technology comes out, there's always, folks saying this is safe, you can use this, and then you find 10 years down the line, lots of people are affected health-wise because of some of these issues. The folks who are living close to these towers, could be, in serious danger down the line, and end up with various different types of cancers and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Right. So when I was looking up, I was trying to figure out why there are so many people that are trying to debunk it, right? We have the side that says this is absolutely happening, it's not good for us. And then we have the other side. I like to play in the middle. So I was looking up what it was, what type of studies have been done to try to validate or disprove it. And one of the things that I found is that, one, let me pull up this article real quick. There was an article that I was reading that says that in 2011, the World Health Organization basically came out and said that radio frequency radiation is a 2B carcinogen. So basically it can cause cancer. So that comes out from the World Health Organization. And then several years later, we have 5G talk, and they're talking about all the radiation associated with that. The next thing that I pulled up was this study that talks about how the 5G towers, right? So the 5G towers are, the frequency that they give off is the same as the 2G, the 3G, the 4G, but they have something in the 5G that's called a millimeter wave. And the millimeter wave, it says those have less of a depth that they can go. They can travel less distance. So 2G, 3G, 5 or 4G, those things can penetrate deeper in the skin is what they claim. And 5G doesn't have that capability. So because of that, I guess, study that they did to prove this, a lot of people were saying that it's not as scary as everybody thinks and that they're just hyping it up and making it seem like it's the end of the world.
Okay, makes sense that maybe, like you said, they improved it so that it doesn't cause those type of situations from 3, 4G and everything else. But I start thinking anyway, how did it get into the part where the Bud Light situation, where people were like, okay, this is what's helping spreading this thing, a couple of years ago and all over, to where we had all these shutdowns. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute, how is that possible? And then you start thinking, that case, why didn't the big secret keepers, do a different type campaign dispelling the myth that the Bud Light scenario couldn't have been happening, unless they used it to cover up what could be happening with it, right? You get what I'm saying? So they let them run with that. Let them run with that conspiracy, because somebody is on it. That first group of people that was talking about how it caused cancer and all these things, where it originally started, to where it morphed into this bigger thing, and then it just carried a life on itself. And it's like, okay, look, let them run with that to hide what's really happening, if it is causing cancer and all that. And so that makes you wonder, because like you said, if they did have to improve it, and one of the things that they knew that 3G and 4G, as you said, had the capability of penetrating our skin cells or whatever, why would they do that if they knew? Why would they have to? Well, maybe they're going to protect us. But here's what I thought about when I was looking on my desk earlier, and I said, how is it possible that this thing could morph into, and let me I'll show you ladies this, and you can kind of think, and I'll get into it. Let me get my spectacles here for a second here, getting to that point where I have to see better. So, but anyway, real quickly, and I'm gonna bring it here so the audience can kind of see. This lady is Amanda Holden. Now, Amanda has almost 2 million followers. Okay. Now she's on the hit show. Let me make sure I put this. There you go. She's on a hit show, Britain's Got Talent. And what it says here is that she talked about the 5G. She went into making tweets and talking about the symptoms of exposure included respiratory problems. She said flu symptoms and temperature rise and fever, headaches, and pneumonia. And she also said it had the much same side effects as the Bud Light thing that we were talking about. Now this lady got 2 million followers, y'all. There you go, 2 million. And she spreaded this thing. So do we wonder how could it morph into something that 2 million followers, and she's out there putting that out there? What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think that, when the incident went down, back in 2019, I think there was a lot of, people on lockdown, not able to go anywhere. So they turn to their phones, they turn to social media, and they're out there listening to people that they like and admire. And, when these type of, conspiracies come about, it spreads like wildfire. People having millions of followers, people are going to pay attention to what their, favorite celebrity or, favorite news personality might have to say. And so it just goes from there. And the distrust that people have for the government, the distrust that people have for all of these, major corporations, it just adds fuel to the fire, so whether or not 5G is going to be damaging in the future or now, or if it's can be militarized, folks are going to have speculation all the time because of the corruption and the distrust.
And Lonnie, before you weigh in, let me read this one here too. So this girl, her name is Carrie Hilson. I don't know if y'all recognize her or not, right? She's famous for the songs like Knock You Down and Pretty Girl Rock. Okay. She threw in her own 2 cents a while back, and she said something to the fact on her Twitter. People have been trying to warn us about 5G for years. This 36-year-old tweeted that on her 4.2 million followers. And she said, what is going through is the effects of radiation, she added, and that 5G launched in China. And she said, people are dropping dead, and attached and go to my IG stories for more stuff. So she was trying to provide some proof. And she was talking about turn it off by disabling the light, another LTE. Like you can do that in your own phones. Now, this woman has 4.2 million followers. So right now, between two tweets, you already see 6 million people that's hearing this thing. But here's the deal. She later told her followers that her management team had instructed her to delete the tweets and that her posts divided fans and who launched into debate about the role of 5G. And also, as you can see, that word there, Bud Light. Okay. And so now, where do we go ahead, Lonnie?
It's interesting because I think when like Nicole said, when we think about the government and why people don't trust them, it's stuff like that. Them making her delete that because they didn't want her to be a part of the conversation. But when we have people that are trying to wake us up, so to say, and trying to bring awareness to these types of things, whether we're saying that it's a fact or it's not, the fact that they don't even want her to participate in the conversation to bring awareness to it at all is concerning and doesn't help with those of us that are already looking at everybody sideways, like we can't trust what's being told to us. You don't even want people talking about it to find the truth. So why would we trust it? Like, that's concerning that they made her delete that. I didn't.
All right, but okay, then I'm going to put you on the spot. You're the show producer of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Nicole is one of our lead researchers. There has been many occasions where you have texted me and said, make sure you don't this, so that I don't get in trouble. But is her management team protecting her as though you protect me in most cases? You're a producer. You do. That's what you do.
It's our role to protect you and the show and the brand, but you have to figure out what it's worth to you, right? So like even doing this particular conspiracy type of talk, you and I had a lot of conversations about whether or not this is even a lane that we want to go down. But at the end of the day, when the truth matters more to you than someone else's opinion, you do what you got to do. You stand on the box and you stand on there proudly, regardless of what comes with that. The fact that there are so many people that try to keep her from doing that, that's concerning. Like, I would never tell you don't stand in your truth. I'm always going to say, if this is what you want to do, let's do it. But let me show you the best way to get there.
There you go. Yeah, I got you. You'll be like, here's a scenario. If you're going to do it this way. Just stay from over there. I got you. All right. True enough. All right. So Mia, if y'all heard of Mia, okay. This lady here she's a British rapper. Okay. Mia has 650,000 followers on Twitter. She's known for hits like Popper Planes, Bad Girls, and blah, blah, blah. She tweeted the other, not long back that if I had to choose between the vaccine or chip, I'm going to choose death. The chip, she refers to alludes to the fast developing conspiracy theory pushed by heavily anti-vaxxers of the 5G campaign, and that the Bud Light is deployed to mass, to the masses or whatever. But she talks about that, and that was one of her things, is to have the choice over it. As a mother, I would want to never feel that again. Just days after her tweets went back, she had to come back and say, can you love vax and 5G at the same time? Once again, somebody got to her and she had to come back and tweet, now, can you love both of them? What is happening there?
Yeah, I think that those types of, conspiracies and, that information that's out there, at that time, that was a very, very prevalent view. A lot of folks were just, did not want to adhere to what the government said because they were concerned that certain things were being pushed upon them. You mentioned the chip. Well, there were some video clips that I watched where a lot of people were saying that they believed that there was a microchip in the jab that they give you to prevent the Bud Light. So a lot of people were very, leery of getting it because of that reason, and because of the speed of it. And there's just a lot of unanswered questions, not a lot of research being done, and just the government and corporations saying, yes, go and do this. And folks just, they really lack trust in our government and in our corporations.
Yeah, I can believe that. So right there between them two, you got 4, 5, 6 million people getting this information, and they're fans, and they're believing what they're being told at this point. Woody Harrison, he got 60,000 followers, but here's a big one for you. This guy right here, Wiz, how you pronounce that name? Khalifa?
Wiz
right?
Khalifa.
Wiz Khalifa.
This dude got 36 million followers on Twitter, 36 million. And he tweeted just something as quick as you can get right here, just 4 words: Bud Light or 5G or both. And it created a storm. He had over 41,000 likes and became what they call a Twitter hero of the 5G movement and all of this stuff. And once again, he had some adverse reactions. He was talking about, how people was like, no, they just went back and forth with him. But again, he was thrown the hero of the movement. So 40 million people this guy can affect with one tweet. Now, what if none of it's true? Now between him and these people, we got 45 million tweets that went out on this. How do we protect ourselves from stuff like that? If it's the latter. This is the part where you say something.
Oh, I was waiting. My bad.
I spoke last, so I was waiting for her to say something. But I can just say that, if it's wrong, I feel like it's partially the responsibility of the government and these corporations to be honest. And the reason why there are untruths going around is because they're not honest in the first place. Therefore, when it's found out, oh, this is harmless, people don't know whether even to trust that because they don't have, they never show you accurate data. And if they do, show you the data, it's not in a timely fashion. So that can also cause a lot of distrust. And it's in this day and age, there's so many scandals. There's so much corruption going on, not just within the United States, but all over the world. And you see these in protests all over the world. There were many cases of people burning down or trying to damage these towers, and because they really felt like they were, in danger. And so people were really taking this seriously. And, granted, they are getting trouble for that. But, it's a scary situation when you have people are actually throwing or trying to damage and trying to burn down these towers.
Wow. Yeah. And that's one of those things that you have to look at it. I'm going to go over 3 more of these real quickly and then get you ladies out, and then we'll come back for a final thing to unravel with everybody. But check this one out. This one here is Amar Khan, and he has about 1 million followers. He's the champion British. There's his face there. He's a boxer from Pakistani, and he's good too. And he says, I think it's man-made, and these guys, it's been put there for a reason to keep everyone while they test 5G. And he's talking about the Bud Light. All of that is kind of let them run with it. In other words, let them run with that theory so we can kind of go this route. But he also said this, and by this time, as we know, YouTube then announced it was banning and deleting all conspiracy theories linking 5G to Bud Light, right? And it was like, okay, they're not going to do it. So, and then, of course, we got David Icke. Now we have John Cusack. I'm a fan of this guy. And he said that it will be proven to be very bad for people's health. And he's saying that we don't need to follow conspiracy as sheep. And he's saying that is true and all this stuff. And lastly, we all know the greatness of Teddy Riley, who, was a music producer for Mary J. Blige, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey. And one of the things he said, I just feel like, he quote, that we're being bamboozled, you know what I'm saying? And he just saying that this is a new world order and that they're trying to put this connections in place. And of course, Charlemagne, who was on one of the other shows, quickly chimed in on it. And so this was just some stuff that they was talking about. So having said that, before I get you ladies out and then we'll get into another part of this, what are your thoughts on it?
I think that time will tell.
Okay.
I think, to be honest, I think time will tell. Studies will be done, and you'll come to find out what the true harm in this, just like anything else, just like any product that they put out, and any other technology, including cell phone technology.
Mm-hmm.
The technology just hasn't been around long enough to do these real detailed, in-depth studies where they're studying people's brains and how these things really affect our bodies, and how much exposure we have to these things, because some people are on their phones or on their Bluetooth all the time. And so I think just time will tell what the damage really will be to our bodies and our brains.
I do think that time will tell it, but I tend to be on the other side of this, where I don't really trust that when they do these studies, they're going to release the information to us. I don't feel like we're ever going to get the real truth from them. And this could just be because we're so used to being pulled back and forth and tossed around in different directions on these types of things. But I feel like even if they did come out with the truth, we're still going to have millions of people who are not going to buy into it because they've spent too long trying to keep us from figuring that out. If we're going to find the truth, we're going to have to go look for it. I don't see them coming out on TV or anywhere else and saying, these are the facts, here's all of the information, here's indisputable proof that this is the truth. I don't see that happening, personally.
But even though we got these celebrities and people of power that has the power to stir a movement one way or the other way, what consequences for that, whether there's truth or not? And just because they're celebrities don't mean that they're jack a smart either, right? Or, there's just everyday people like we are that's amplified. So how do you make sure you monitor that? Or is it even possible, or do we even give a darn that we should worry about who's saying what out there anyway? They're doing it in a UFO space now, right? They definitely get ready to take that initiative. And so now that we have to then implement the Whistleblowers Act just to protect people from telling the truth or whatever they deem we should know. But in the real world, things like that, out of all those 10 people I put there for a reason. And that reason was to give the audience a connection between how can something get that big, right? Whether it's truth or not, how can a conspiracy grow? That's just 10 people who have reached 50 million people. Just 10. 10 went to 50. Imagine what 50 million can go just telling one or two people in the whispers and how things can go. And that's what I was saying there, ladies. I'm going to get y'all out. We're going to get into the next section of the show, and I'm going to bring y'all back at the end, and we'll do some things here in the chat with the audience. Fair enough?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. So we're going to get into a next segment that's going to lead to our last part of the show. I want to get into what I call Yology, why the big secret. And this here is just going to give some thought-provoking whys to what is really happening, a way to reflect what you have heard tonight. And as we just covered, our opinion and thoughts about this 5G technology. Now, of course, we got a lot of things we're going to be talking about in the future when it gets down to some of the other shows that we're going to be doing here. And you definitely don't want to miss a lot of this thing. Project Bluebeam, when we get back into that again, with as reference to Montauk Project, which is out there, an existing island, which Stranger Things was made off of, as well as any other stories. And as always, my DNA is UFOs, aliens, and extraterrestrials. Got a lot more stuff that I want to share with you about that. But let's go into this part, Yology. And when we finish that, we'll go in and I'll end the show and when I'm done. But if you want to hang around, we're going to do something that we normally don't do, but we will start to do it. We may either call out to some of the audience so they can get on the phones. You can hear them, as well as integrate our chat into the conversation. And I just didn't want to do it during the show because it can get distracting, but it allow you to say, okay. But anyway, through Yology, I'm going to go over a few things, and I'm just going to pose a question, maybe some things for us to think about when it comes down to this, and then we can discuss it later in the audience, the audience section of this thing that we're going to do unraveled. Well, anyway, why do some people believe in the 5G conspiracy theories, despite scientific evidence disproving the negative health effects? Okay, so how does this go? And we can kind of consider things like cognitive dissonance, right? Or confirmation bias. Nicole was just saying some stuff, mistrust and authority that they were just saying and responding to this question. So think about that. Why is that? And I just want to put that on your mind. Maybe you can bring it up in the chat in a little bit. Why do conspiracy theories like 5G gain traction and spread quickly on social media? And I think I just proved that, when I said that if you got people influenced, whether they are informed or less informed, they still got the power of one tweet, one section, 4 words, like what the guy did. And he reached 40 million people instantly. And that's a lot of power. Now, of course, you heard the management team say, hey, that's bad for business too. And, so what are you going to think about? Money, power, truth, or whatever. And in this case, some of those people removed it. Why some people are more successful in believing conspiracy theories than others. That is something that we will get into always and explore the psychological factors on this, right? Such as anxiety, the need of for control that contributes to an individual's susceptibility to conspiracy theories. There's a lot of reasons where people listen to conspiracies, and it is said psychologically, if somebody believes in one, they could possibly believe into another, because all of them had the same basis, and that is something is going on. There's some type of nefarious intent that people need to look into. And again, when it gets down to this theory, why might some people group promote 5G theories despite the evidence anyway? Why would people do it? Now, we can consider financial gain. Is there any money behind it? Is people making any money for the reason that they will then say, let's put it out there that 5G causes Bud Light, and that's what's spreading the Bud Light all around, and why people need to get hit in their arms for that, right? I don't know. And then, of course, what importance, how can we debunk that? So what I'm going to do is get the audience involved. I want to get y'all involved. So basically at this point, we're done with some of this information. And if you want to stick around in just a second, where we now get into the audience, and this is done on purpose to my haters. Now you don't have to worry about me interrupting the show saying, okay, we're going to look into the chats, thanking people for what they said, whatever. It's at the end. You can go now. You can go. Okay, now we're going to integrate with the audience. I'm going to get into the chat, maybe even call somebody out on the phone line and bring them into the call to see what they have to say. We can do a lot of things being creative. but now I want to get your sentiments on what's going on. I'm gonna get the researcher back up here and get a show producers, and we're going to go into this chat. So in the meantime, if you want to stick around for it, put in the chat that you want to stick around, and we'll go into that part so we can see where we are. Just let me know. Let me put a thumbs up or whatever it is in the chat. But in the meantime, I can do an ending and let y'all know we just ended the show and everything else. But we're going to go into the next phase of it as well. So let's do that. Let me see in the chat if y'all down. Then we're going to get into this. All right, ladies. So we're going to get into the chat. I think y'all can kind of see that as well. And let's get down into some people saying they can stay. Some people say they're voting for Roderick. Yeah, you guys, if you're going to vote for me, you got to vote in the TV host category now. I think there'll be some things we'll think about there in a minute. But anyway, let's see. What are we doing here? All right. So I'm going to look into the chat. I'll even put a few on screen for some people. Now, we could call out to some people, but I don't know how we can really integrate that so I can get their phone number. Maybe those people, I'm not trying to plug it that way, but maybe I can give them the cash out. If you want to support the show, in the notes, you can put your telephone number and your question, and then I will then call you up on the phone and then weave you into the show where you'll be connected in for a question. If that's something you want to do, put in a chat. I'll put it up in a minute. If not, let's go into. All right. So if anyone got questions that you want to talk or statement or your opinion about 5G, put it in the chat. Let's see what we got, and then we can go from there. For the rest of you, like I say, the show is over. You can go so that way I'm not wasting any of your time. But now just, for about 15 minutes here, we can talk to the audience. Okay. He said, why is Bud Light cold for the pandemic? Anybody want to claim that one?
The other one is come on now.
Yes. We can't say the word. So close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is someone in the chat who I would love if we could get you up here to speak, if we could somehow connect with you. Gerard, where you at? What is his name?
You mean like bring him up in the show?
Gerard Burks. If we can get your statement, get your number, something, so that way we can get your commentary. Gerard Burks has studied telecommunications and neuroscience and says that he knows quite a bit about this topic. So if you want to chime in, Gerard, we're here.
All right. So what you can do, Gerard, is this. This is in real time. Listen up. Send your telephone number to the email contact@whythebigsecret.com. Right now, if you want to do this. I'm going to call you from my cell phone. It'll be blocked. And then you answer it, and then I'm going to bring you in on the switchboard. Okay. I'll check the email in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, anything else that I need to pull up? Somebody else said Bud Light. Let me put this up. Someone else says someone probably came up with the theory because Bud Light had dial-only working for them, and the company put something into it. Actually, I just thought of Bud Light today because it was just the other side of the other drink, and it was just a name, pretty much. But yeah, we can do that as well. Y'all see anything interesting in there as well?
I was just paying attention to Gerard because he was quite vocal about his educational background on the topic. So I really do want to hear what he has to say. I'm excited to hear that.
All right. I'm going to check in a minute and see if he's, saying anything. So let me connect us first to what we got to do, and then we will see what's going on.
So while that's going on, one of the other things that I found was a study that was listed on. Did you put those links that I sent to you in the description at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't have time.
It's all good. There was so the Australian Parliament House at ahp.gov.au, they posted an article or some kind of document that someone wrote, but they were talking about a study that they did on millimeter waves, and they took these frequencies from the millimeter waves and they put some E. coli bacteria around it. And they stated that the bacteria began to morph and to act differently. The cells within those bacteria began to change. And they were using that as information to support the idea that these frequencies can actually impact our human cells. Like it can impact the human body. So I think a part of that might be why that might be one of those studies that's causing people, at least in that side of the world, to think that this is really going on.
Well, your guy didn't email me. Now, if he want to put his number on the screen, I'll call him. Yeah, if any of
Put himself out there.
Yeah, you put your number on that screen, I'll call you. I'll dial you up right now and put you in the show. Anyone else that got some technical knowledge that you want to put in, I'll bring you into the show. That's that moment for all of us. But I didn't.
That says, "Let me talk."
Drop the email.
In the email in the chat.
Email in the chat, and then say he's looking for it. So, all right. So she's putting the email in the chat for you. You drop your number in there, and I will call you instantly. I'll check it in 30 seconds or so. Keep checking it, and then we can hear what you got to say. And if anyone else, y'all see the email, I'll let you know I got your email, and I'll tell you I'll call you in a few seconds as well. So this is the part that we would do audience unraveled. So let me check and see if he's well, actually we should hear a little noise. It'll go ding right when I get an email. It's open. All right. So anyway, let's move on until he gets to that point. It was there. So when you think about, once again, what's happening, and let me see if anyone else. Somebody says, Fritz said, let me put it up right here. Studies will be done absolutely wrong, ladies. There are always, he said they already knew. Are you guys familiar with the Agenda 21 depopulation agenda used for common sense and vet your information? He's saying we need to use common sense. Is he talking about us, or are you talking to y'all? What are you saying? Because I'm going to protect my girls, but.
Well, you know how I'm coming, so.
I have thick skins. I'm not concerned or bothered.
Here's my thing.
Everybody's allowed to their opinion, and everybody's allowed to, express themselves in the way that they know. It's not that we're not using common sense. It's that we're trying to look at things from a broad perspective, because there are so many different perspectives. And there are so many different avenues that you can go with the 5G conspiracy. There's so many related conspiracies to that as well. So we're just trying to take a broad look at this and just draw attention to it so that people can do their own research. We encourage people to do their own research, really dig deep if this is something that is of your concern.
Yeah. Okay. So the information that we're sharing, you're welcome to go look up on your own. And I would highly encourage all of you to do this, right? So the information that we found are on readily available websites that you yourself can go look at. Whatever type of vetting you would like to do, you're welcome to do that. But what we're looking to do is present the information from all angles, right? I personally don't like to pick a side. I don't want to give you everything that says that this is a fact, and I don't want to give you all of the information that says it's not. I'm looking to give you the middle ground, and you go figure out what truth resonates with you based on the information that we're sharing and what you're able to find on your own. Like, this isn't us telling you what to believe or what not to believe. We're just giving you something to think about. That's all.
Look, I think my email is jammed. We might have to use a different. Try to send me an email to contact at Why the Big Secret if one of y'all could.
Test it out real quick.
Yeah, let's test it out. If not, they can put my personal email up there. That's cool. And then we can get my guy in here. He may have sent it. For some reason, it's not responding. So
sent it.
All right.
I'll send you a test as well.
All right. Because last email I got from this email, okay, I heard the noise, right? All right, y'all heard it.
I heard it.
That was Nicole.
I did too.
Check your own mail and make sure it's not going to like your spam box or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I didn't get yours. Yep, yours went to spam, and why? All right. All right, so here it is. What's this? Please use the handle. All right. So somebody just sent their email. All they did was didn't want to get on the phone. They just sent a web address. What do we do about that?
File it away for later. We can look at it when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
So Inner Wisdom Productions mentioned Spirit Science. If you guys are not familiar with Spirit Science, I absolutely love that channel.
I love Spirit Science.
Goes into all kinds of stuff. Good mention.
Yes.
All right, so look, we have Gerard send his number. He was smart enough. He went through the website and sent it. Okay, because obviously something else must have been happening. So let me see if I can get him in on the conversation here and see what we get. Yeah. Okay, then let's see. Let's roll it.
Somebody says that their phone number is there. GeoCompix.
Connect you.
Y'all heard that? This is why the big secret. Yeah, Google Voice, y'all. This is why the big secret. Yeah, you got Google Voice going on.
This is why the big secret. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Hey, you on live? What's going on?
What's popping? I didn't think you would actually call. What's going on?
So you think I would sit up here and just make it up? No, brother.
I'm a little bit shy too, so if I sound a little bit,
it's a little late for that because we got your name up on the screen. The okay is up there. But let's get down to it. Tell us what you know.
Okay, well, I wanted to add on to what the young lady in the middle was talking about with the bacteria.
In the middle? That's Lonnie, the show producer.
Lonnie? Okay. Well, yeah. So 90% of serotonin, which is, one of your neurotransmitters, is produced in the gut, which is part of your gut bacteria. The responsibility of bacteria in the body is to help produce your neurotransmitters. So when you were saying that the waves, the EMF waves or whatnot, cause the bacteria to degrade. So that's why a lot of people who have COVID or what's called long COVID, they're having problems digesting their food, and they're having problems.
And remember, we got to call it Bud Light because they'll block us for saying those words.
Oh,
okay.
Pardon.
Yeah, just call it Bud Light.
Pardon. Bud Light. Yes, pardon. So one of the main issues with the Bud Light is that these EMF frequencies are causing the bacteria to degrade and disappear, which is, and I know this for sure because I actually suffer from Bud Light, the long version of it. But here's another side of it too. Besides the bacteria, it's also heavy metal contamination, because what these EMF waves do is they cause the heavy metals in your body to become radioactive. And so whichever part of your body has the most accumulation of heavy metals, so let's say in your large intestine, this is how people develop diseases such as IBS or Crohn's disease, is because the heavy metals have accumulated from ingesting so many, the water and contaminated food and things of that nature. They accumulate in your large intestine, and the vibration of it that makes it, the vibration of these heavy metals from the EMF waves causes the metals to become isotopes, what's called radioisotopes, which is basically radioactivity in the body. So these people who are walking around with Bud Light symptoms are radioactive. Okay. So, yeah. And another thing is, viruses are not real. That is the social construct that Big Pharma and the government has used to be able to control the population through basically superstition.
Okay.
Anything that is referred to as a virus is actually two things: heavy metal contamination in the body and EMF radiation. And the interaction between the two causes radioactivity. Okay. So, besides Bud Light, you know, you may have AIDS or you may have polio. All of these phenomena are just different names for the same construct, which is a construct of radioactivity. Okay, and so all of these things are curable, but what the government does is they hide the cure so that they can manage the population, depopulate. So what they'll do is they'll allow certain basically how you heal from any disease is called chelation, which is CHELATION. Each heavy metal has a certain chelation agent that can get that heavy metal out of the body. So for example, lead may have a certain chelation agent. Cadmium may have a certain chelation agent. So what the government does is they use race and other demographics to target what they're going to heal and what they're going to depopulate. Wow. So I'll give an example.
Yeah, give an example.
What they call herpes.
Yeah, give an example, and then I need to call Ranger Zero. I got his number, and then Vanetta. I got two more people I need to call. So just go ahead.
No problem.
Bring us home right here.
Okay, I'm bringing it home. I'm making my thesis right here. So what they call STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, are not caused by viruses. It's caused by the accumulation of heavy metals in the small intestinal tract. So for example, I'll give you a good example. What they call herpes is just heavy metals in your urethra and small intestinal tract. And what happens is when the EMF waves hit those metals, your body's natural reaction to detox is to make bumps and rashes, because the fluid that's excreted from those bumps is actually the heavy metals and toxic material that has accumulated inside of the area. Okay, so any disease that, especially, you know, just for this example, STDs are nothing but heavy metal contamination in certain parts of the body, and then, you know, the rashes and any other physiological changes being your body's reaction to try to detox from that. And the way to cure it is to find the proper chelation agent. So, you know, like I said, lead may have a certain chelation agent that's specific to lead, and cadmium may have a certain chelation agent that's specific to cadmium. And every negative heavy metal has a certain chelation agent that will get that out of the body. Nothing else will get that out of the body except that specific chelation agent. So we can debunk the whole virus theory. Viruses do not exist. It's just heavy metal contamination and EMF radiation.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Gerard, for coming on up, giving us that. If anybody want to say anything or pretty much to what he said, you were getting a lot of good hand claps in the chat. So I appreciate you, brother,
Good
and
stuff.
we'll talk to you again.
Very good stuff. We appreciate you dropping
No
that.
problem, big.
All right. So I'm going to call Ranger Zero. He did put his number. It was up in the subject matter. So I'll call him, and Vanetta will call you next, and then we'll just end it there. That'll be a couple of phone calls there. So let me see if I can reach out to the greatness of Ranger. Who was that? Oh, that's y'all typing. I was like, what am I doing? I didn't know what it was. I'm thinking like somewhere on my phone. I ain't moving my finger. No, you
I
good.
always hear Lonnie typing away.
She be on the phone with other folks and stuff.
Don't start.
Yeah. What? You know you do 2 shows at once? 3. Really?
Gotta leave
All right.
Lonnie alone.
All right. So let's see if we can call Ranger Zero. Get him on the phone here. I'm calling him, y'all, right there on my phone.
Okay, Ranger, where you at?
Right.
Ranger.
Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Let me try to make my signal a bit clearer. I'm calling from the jungle rainforest in Central America.
A rainforest,
wow.
Man. You should catch me one of the monkeys and send over here because I need a pet.
You don't need
you asked a question earlier about conspiracy theories, right?
Okay.
And what I can tell you is my background. I'll drop an email, a follow-up email, so that you can kind of vet me and vet my background. But
we like to do that. That's the producer's job, and she normally would have done that, but we're moving so fast. But yes, send it anyway. We'll do a backup. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a research scientist. I'm retired military. I served in the military for over 20 years, U.S. military. I've been an expatriate of the United States for, I would say, damn near 15 to 20 years now. And what I want to say to you all is that this thing is deep, and the subject matter that you guys are touching on are things that have been in motion for over 30 years. And I know this for sure, just, being a part of the U.S. military and serving, in different scenarios and situations. Conspiracy theory is a buzzword. That's what a lot of people don't know about the way things are structured in the United States is that advertising, TV, entertainment, it's all controlled by people who were who formerly served in the U.S. military under the psychological warfare branches. This is not something I'm making up. This is something that you can go and research for yourself and find out. Now, I'm saying that because everything that's being transmitted to you through television, through radio, through media, through entertainment is being controlled to herd and cull the populations. You understand? The food, the viruses, the pandemics. There were many of us that was privy and knew this stuff was going to go down over 20 years ago because it was written. It's been established. The planet Earth is in a red zone, is under ecosystem collapse. And what happens is when you have a military-industrial complex that's in control and fascist corporations that are in control of the decision-making, they're going to err on the side of purge. You understand? They're going to take whoever they feel is the elite or whoever they feel is are people that are deserving to survive, and then they're going to go and purge out the rest. And that's what we're experiencing now. Now it's deep with how, like you're saying, how the social media is getting capped of these people who have these big audiences. Well, that's because they have handlers. If you do some more extensive research, you'll realize that every major entertainer and social media person, they have you research the people that they have around them, and again, you'll see a connection to military psychological warfare. They don't call it psyops anymore; they call it MISO. So just to disrupt and disturb and depattern things so that people get confused and they're not really sure at how to do the research and where to do the research. Names change consistently. I'm still to this day I'm a consultant for multiple for the militaries of multiple countries.
You know, so it's like I know the pattern, I know what they do, and I have a lot of loved ones in the United States that I care for dearly, and I find myself bringing them news that they can't even get inside the United States. We knew about BRICS years ago.
Wow.
You know,
It sound like we got a new support structure here for the Why the Big Secret show.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we might need to get you to chime in a few times.
On point.
Now you are, like I said, well, I got your number, so I might call you later on after the show anyway. And pretty much, but do send that back end information, because we do like to make sure if you're going to be some regular one of our analysts, as we bring you in on a couple of conversations, we want to make sure that we vetted some situations. So,
what I would tell people to do is do serious research into MK Ultra, not just the lightweight stuff, not the gaming stuff, but the actual. I would say go find those documentaries from the 70s, like Mission Mind Control, the 60s, the 70s, early 80s, where ABC did exposés on MK Ultra and what was really going on with it, to actually find out the degrees of how they operate. But it was very deep. It's very, very deep. And this conspiracy theory thing is just something that they're using to kind of stop the information from coming out, because as we get out of the military services, we start talking. And they have to have a means to kind of get people thrown off of what's going on. You know what I mean? Like whistleblowers, all of that. They're trying to divert people from the real information. That's a way of diverting information that's being given by people that actually saw the documents, saw the meetings, sat in the meetings, and actually had their hands on reports and so on and so forth. So I won't take up any more of your time, but bless and respect to you all, and keep up the good work.
Hey, appreciate you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Expect a call from me a little bit after the show, so we'll wrap some stuff up. Fair enough?
Yes, Bridget. Respect.
All right, appreciate it. All right, so next I'm getting ready to reach out to the SHM Foundation. She has some things she want to add to it, and then we will come to a close after that. Fair enough, y'all?
Yep.
All right, so let's do that. Let me find the number here and see what we got here. And all right. Oh, yeah. You know what? Hang on a minute. I'm gonna call. We got one more after that. I'm gonna call my boy Chris. Chris, he definitely, his father been in the military, and I'm gonna bring him in, and we'll make this conversation quick, and then we'll call Chris, y'all. Y'all got to hear from him. Him and I be in the steam room, so you'll get the gist of some of the stuff that I hear when the fellas. Yeah. So hang on a second. Let's call SHM Foundation, and Chris, I'm gonna call you next. Well, my little cell phone working tonight, ain't it?
Okay.
All right, you are live on the Why the Big Secret show.
Okay.
Now, do you remember, Bud Light is the term, so we can't use that other word if you are going to bring that in context. Bud Light, okay? Fair enough?
Fair enough. All
right.
I just kind of wanted to. Okay, I just kind of wanted to elaborate. He gave much more in depth, but that was so true what he said. We kind of got to get. The last person that came up. I'm sorry. The last person that came up is
Ranger Zero. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, Ranger Zero. So the point about the whistleblowing and the things to kind of throw us off, divide us, have us all confused. I was a person that was not a conspiracy person at all. I believed in everything. You know, I was a square person until I experienced getting that shot, and the things that I had to experience after that opened my whole eyes. I felt every single thing that happened in my body, because I'm not a person that abused my body. I don't take medicines too quick. I mean, I was forced to get it by a job. Because I was in healthcare before, and it was just the complications. I felt the radiation. It was a 5G tower right beside my place. And I felt the once I got the shot. I only got one dose, but when I got it, I felt the radiation from the tower emitting radiation to me and frying my hair. I literally had a bald spot in the middle of my head. And I could just feel this thing go through each and every one of the systems of my body. So let's just say on my road to recovery, I had to go through a whole lot. But the biggest part was me accepting what it was, that this is the truth. They really trying to destroy people's bodies because your body not supposed to have radiation in it either. And then that I dug deeper into it, and the whole to figure out that the entire pharmaceutical companies, and I don't want to talk about that because that goes too far down the rabbit hole. But just to confirm, for me, experiencing the things I experienced with that, I knew the situation was what it was, and so I try to stay away from these conversations, but I do have to be honest, about what I went through from that. It took me some time for my body to recover. But mostly it took me to take care of my body to get it back, because your body can come back from anything. Just got to work hard at it. I did learn that throughout that, but that whole thing kind of opened my eyes to realize, that's really what was going on. It's a death shot.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming up. We got one more call for the sake of the show time, but I appreciate you, SHM Foundation. And real quickly, give a plug. What is that? If it's a plug for you, if it ain't for some other company, no.
Say what now?
SHM Foundation. Is that something you are totally? Yes. All right, then. Please give a plug.
That's my company.
If it's your company, give us a 30-second plug. I'm not plugging anybody else's Sugar Honey Iced Tea.
Okay.
But if it's yours, give it 30 seconds right now. Go ahead.
Okay, so yes, Sarah's Heart Mission Foundation. It's a foundation that I'm creating for traumatic women who have experienced a lot of trauma in their lives, and they're trying to overcome. We're going to teach different strategies on taking care of the body, taking care of the mind, and getting yourself 100% so you can be fit to move past and beyond your trauma.
Website? You got a website or something?
No, I'm in the process of creating all of that this week. That's crazy. I wish it would have already been done by now.
Don't worry. Were you on the green? Now that you can create safe conversations, you're on our green light. So maybe next time you can call in. But I appreciate it. Let me get to my boy Chris, and we will get out of here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna call Chris from my boy at the gym and get him in, and then we will get out of here. And hopefully we'll shorten it up next time for y'all. But y'all still here. That's cool. Let's see. Let me find them. Let me find his number. Oh, shoot. What do you mean find his number? It's right here. What am I talking about? All right. Let's call him up right now. And here's some conspiracy stuff.
Hey, Rod. How we doing, buddy?
We're doing good. My Bigfoot. Now, Chris is all into Bigfoot, y'all. Just want y'all to know Bigfoot. Bigfoot. And background, his father's been in the military. Chris and I will meet, and with the other fellows, we'll meet up. And yesterday I was bringing my GoPro into the steam room last night. I was like, "Look, y'all, I need to put y'all on the shoulder bar." He was like, "Don't show my muscles," and I was like, "Okay, that's fine."
Yeah, it was a little bit too much to do that, but we want to definitely talk about today's show, and that was very interesting what you talked about tonight. I tell you what, I know a little bit more about other things, but the 5G, you really hit something, Rod, because, I've talked to you before, and again, maybe your researchers and yourself can steer me in a direction if I say the wrong thing, but I've always told you.
Long as you don't use that word, just use Bud Light, if you're going to use it.
No, it's not the Bud Light, but it's more the big government, the big boys watching everything. If you remember the movie Enemy of the State, which was 20 years ago, I think we're there.
Yeah, Will Smith.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think we've already got to that point where they control everything, but they don't have to control it. They can watch us, they can see us. And we've talked about this before, you know, how with now you have iPad, you have iPhone, you have iWatch. Man, they're putting stuff in glasses now that they can see stuff. You know, things that we thought that were James Bond 20 years ago are coming too fast. They're realistic now. And the scary thing is, I just saw today, I was watching one of the businessmen talk on the World Economic Forum on CNBC, and he was talking that in 2030, the phones are going to be obsolete because they're going to want to put stuff in us, chips. May not be there today in the United States, but it's going in that direction eventually. And that 5G allows everything to interact. We can all be connected. Our refrigerators, you can go to the refrigerator. Hey, or you can be on your phone. I need to turn down my thermostat at home. I need to do this. My car needs to turn off. There are so many fascinating things out there, but it's got to be scary, dude, because they can pretty much find anybody. And that's what we talk about a lot. You know, if there's something going on, or if they need to find something, and it goes back to, remember 9/11 and the Patriot Act, they gave the power, they gave the ultimate power to be able to track or find anybody at any time, at any given moment. So we're advanced to 20 years later, and it's there, we're here. And ironically, you know, we have iPhones that can facial recognition, we got computers facial recognition. And do we check our banks? Absolutely. Do we call our kids, and do we get the iPhone, the iWatch is what got me kind of curious, because that's on your arm. You know, it sees your heart rate, it sees your pulse, it sees how much you're walking, jogging, sweating. That should really scare people in that part. But I mean, that's another conversation another day. But I really think you got something here. But I mean, we tend to forget, if you recall, Rod, on the Patriot Act back in 2000, was it 2001? I know 9/11, but I don't remember when they actually passed that Patriot Act. Was it like in October, or like 4 weeks after the towers went down? God, it was the most awful thing. The world shut down, but everybody was behind everything. Catch them, find it, go to war. And now here we are 22 years later, and we still have the Patriot Act.
It's almost like they implement the Patriot Act, and we got behind it because it was supposed to be used to find who did it. But now its instrument is in reverse, is here for us. So I figure, I appreciate you. So Chris, appreciate you. Chris' father's been in the military. Chris is my boy. We talk.
Absolutely.
We'll get some Bigfoot talk here. But what you did, though, you just instrumented one of our future shows. In Lonnie and the researchers, we're going to do a show on surveillance items. How could they be watching us? And we just need to research all the items. Anybody who's listening right now, I want to crowdsource this thing. Anybody send links to Why the Big Secret YouTube, I mean, not YouTube, but our email, any kind of surveillance that you think that they could be watching us. Anything, send me links. And if don't just send a name, send something that I can click and they can click and blah, blah, blah. Put the email in the chat, Lonnie. Remember, we want surveillance items, and the whole topic is how could they be watching us, so we can give that out to the people, because it's a big secret. Chris, thank you, man, and I'll see you.
You're very welcome.
You going to gym tonight?
I'm going tonight, so if I see you there, I will see you there after 11.
You know what? We ended pretty early tonight, so I'll see you in about an hour or so. What is Lonnie tomorrow?
Absolutely. And I did like to listen to those ladies talk about their knowledge and research, because there's a lot of input that they put out, and you know, they do that hard work that you can't get to, because there's so much you have to do in a week show. So I mean, I'm always here too. If you want to reach out and call, or you have a question for me, you want me to get on camera, just let me know. But
we're gonna start adding you to, you know, like just like CNN got their commentators and people that I forget what they call them, but we're gonna get a whole list of that where we can start bringing in. And then once you get to a point where you want to you know, show your face, you know, we'll
absolutely,
we put 10 people up here, so we'll do a panel. Appreciate you, buddy. I'll see you soon.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, buddy. You ladies have a good night, and I will talk to you again.
Good night. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's my boy Chris. We be going at it in the steam, and then, you know, he be telling the story. It'll be a bunch of us. I mean, conspiracy steam room. Like last night, I was like, you know what? We need to talk about 5G. Can I bring him a camera? And I forgot to go out there. And they was like, yeah, go get it. I had it in my thing. And boy, we was gonna just have a steam room talk, and that may be a part of the show. We need to have a steam room talk part of the show. What do y'all think? Let me note that here.
That would be interesting
for the camera, but
yeah, and the thing, well, you ladies could do it. I do it. Just keep it up here. You know what I'm saying? But it's in this thing. It's part of conversation. Well, anyway, I appreciate everybody who came in there tonight, and everything else. And somebody was asking, why am I promoting Bud Light? I'm like, dude, that just came up with the term. But if they want to, send a contribution, Bud Light, that's fine. If you think of another name that we can use, I was just trying to relate it to the drink, the name of the other thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like both of them is named after a drink, right? So we can kind of do that. So with that being said, ladies, let me close the show out. Y'all hang around in the back room and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. So at this point, we are at where we are with that. All right, we will make sure that things get a little quieter there, and pretty much there. I'm sorry, I'm reading some notes last. It's a little late. But once again, it's been a fun, pleasing pleasure, well as a privilege serving you. We're going to be doing our show formats there. We're going to tighten it up a little quicker for you. So just to give you an example of what you're going to expect in the future, it's going to be 7 segments, and we'll fill in those segments. One being the conspiracy, whatever we're talking about, the big secret. We'll get into peeling back the layers of it as segment 2. We'll get into the word on the street. So I'm going to always have a word on the street for you. We'll get into the grand revelation, and that's bringing it to a close. And then I'll give you a little bit of biology, something for you to think about. And if you like the last section, audience unraveled, we will begin to do that a little more precise, where you can call in and then probably give you the notice of what next week's show, so you can already send your comments and we can read them out and everything else. But in the meantime, it's been a fun, pleasing pleasure, and I said it already. Again, I love each and every one of you. And to my haters, as always, if you can hate me and not know me, I can love you without ever meeting you. And that is a promise. I can do that. Hug your family, hug your kids, say love to anyone. Let them know you love them, because the moments are quick when it gets down. As these conspiracies, protect your brain, protect your head, protect the information. Do your due diligence, study, understand what's happening. Don't believe everything, because once again, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. It is time to think wide, and you have to, for your own good, for your family good, and we will take it out from here. Good night.
Let me ask you a question. Why the big secret? Truth seekers were really the true leaders. It's time to get the facts from the big secret keepers. UFOs passing by when I look up in the sky. We're out here asking why, but we don't get no reply. We want disclosure, we need the actual facts. They're covering all the tracks, but we're not backing down. It's our time, stay on the grind. Why the big secret's about to blow your mind?